one of the things I've really noticed throughout this whole COVID lockdown, violation of civil liberties on every level, is how much authoritarianism really relies on the people buying into it. So even if you think about the Soviet Union, you were getting ratted out by your neighbor. That's true in North Korea today still. And that's really what you realize, is that they have to it's not just a top down from the government thing. The government has to convince the people to be ratting out their own neighbors for, being within 6 feet of somebody else. And if you don't have that, there's no way to enforce their rules. And it's really creepy to see Americans turning on their fellow Americans.
Yes, and some get great glee out of it, apparently. And here's why it happens. Everybody thinks they're right, and everybody else is wrong. But there can't be any right if everybody's wrong, people. Do you see this? Maybe there is no right or wrong. But what is clearly unhelpful and unproductive and socially destructive is acting as if your beliefs are the only beliefs that are correct. That's what's destroying society, always has. I mean, you see it from the smallest to the largest. You see the Karens in the street turning people in. You see the gross, powerful two political parties in America, Republicans and Democrats. I'm surprised they're not choking each other across the aisle in Congress. But no, I mean, it's almost bloodshed, anger and hatred. Let's impeach the president. Let's blame the Democrats. No. Does that help us, the people? I mean, we've elected these motherfuckers, and what are they doing? Instead of going out and getting a good job for the government, earning some money for the government rather than stealing from us, prosecute those who are taking our money and putting it in their pockets. Instead of doing that shit, they're choking each other and throwing sticks and stones like fucking children. No, this is what's destroying America. From the top to the bottom, the I'm right, you're wrong. And you believe you're right because, well, fuck me. You're you. You have to fucking be right. I mean, how could you be wrong? Because, listen, why don't you take a look at yourself? Yous out there. What is the most important thing in the world? You. Who's the most important person? You. Who would never turn their back on you, but everybody else might, and you would turn your back on the world. What's the biggest thing in the universe? You, in terms of importance. You tiny spark of flesh and bone in a universe that dwarfs you to the point not of just insignificance, but of virtual non-existence, people. And yet you are the center of your universe. So how the fuck could you be wrong? See, this is the problem, that everybody thinks using that same formula. Why? It's a formula that's been passed to us through our genes, through our society, through our moms and dads and schools, not in any direct, overt way. Of course not. Of course not. But in the system of culture, identity, who is it that's identifying? You are. You're identifying with Republicans, or you're identifying with the Democrats, you're identifying with gun owners, or you're identifying with pacifists, or you're identifying with Christianity, or you're identifying with the Muslim faith or Buddhism. We have to solve the problem of ourselves first, people, because really, we've simply gone too far in that. I mean, when I was growing up, my father and grandfather specifically made sure I understood how insignificant I was whenever I thought that I was important. Not through any physical discipline, but through simply ignoring me as if, you think you're important, you don't exist. Or through outright telling me that whatever I think is true can't be unless I find it on my own, because otherwise it's simply borrowed. I mean, from mom and dad school, from police, from laws, from the government, from television, from books, from your friends. So no, but that's not being done anymore. I don't know why. Is it the new math? Is it the Common Core education system? I'm just not sure. And if none of this makes any sense, it's probably explainable by the fact that this is my third bottle. Hang on a second, let me just show you something here. So the trash is cleaned out every day. This is just from today, people. All right.
Well, there you go. But it seems to be bringing you some wisdom, because I think that it's a really
no, I don't think so. I think it's dulling what little wisdom I once had.
Well, it hasn't. You might need a little more, because I do think there is wisdom in that, and it's one of the things that's missing in humanity the most these days is the humility. I mean, there's always something that's attracted me to one of the reasons why I'm a libertarian is that it seemed to me like it is inherently a very humble philosophy that says I can't be certain I'm right about everything, and so I would never dream to force anything on you, because like I could be wrong. You want to maintain that. And I think when you were speculating about is it Common Core, is it these other things, I think part of it is that as the state's grown bigger and bigger, it destroys community ties more and more.
Yes.
And people are more and more isolated. And when you're part of a group, when you're together, which goes back to what you were talking about with the social distancing, it forces a little bit of humility on you, because you realize you're just one part of a bigger thing. When you're living
it's when isolated, you're alone that you're most important. Think about it.
That's right. Because you're all that exists.
That's it. And all you are is an entity with desires and wants and hopes and anticipations. That's all you are. And then another person comes into your life and manages, because they have the same thing, and if you manage to rub off a little bit of that rough, raw egoism that most of us start developing at the age of 2.
Right. You know what I wanted to ask you about, because you're really the person to ask about this stuff. What do you think? Because now, right, we've seen the clampdown on civil liberties, the insistence on social distancing. There's the the just looting the American people on a level that is, even for the last few years, just never been seen before in such a short period of time. But now the talk is that, well, we can't ever reopen until we start this social social tracing or tracking, whatever they're calling it now. So we're gonna mine your cell phone data to see who you've been around and where you've been. And this freaks me out.
But it should freak everybody out. I mean, you've got countries like Australia considering the same thing. They've had fewer than 2,000 deaths out of 28 million people. Please, do you understand the ridiculousness? I mean, 10 times as many people have died from the flu in Australia during the same period of time. And it's been happening every goddamn year. But no, because of coronavirus, we have to now start tracking people. I don't know. This is a devious false flag, if it is one. I mean, one of the deepest and deadliest that human history has experienced, involving multiple countries. You understand?
Yeah. Well, this seems to be what the plan. I mean, whether it's a false flag or not is almost irrelevant to how scary the idea of social tracing is. That the government is now going to not only know where you are at all times, but is going to be able to trace everybody you've come in contact with. I thought the Edward Snowden revelations were about the creepiest thing I could have heard of.
No, this is the creepiest thing. This is the creepiest of all things, my friend. No, I'm horrified that people are going, oh, well, that'll make us safer. Whoa, what universe is that?